So today I'm giving my book versus movie review for Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, and I'm going to try to do this in about 5 minutes because I don't really have much to say, honestly. If you have been living under a rock, Jurassic Park is a science fiction thriller slash horror about cloning dinosaurs, putting them on an island in some sort of amusement park, and hoping everything goes okay. I do prefer the movie over the book as my preferred method of telling the story, but I did have a couple of things that I feel like the book did a lot better. And that's just in terms of scope and character. So the book actually starts out with dinosaurs escaping the island. And that's something that you never see in the movie. But in the book, we actually open in several chapters of short snippet stories of dinosaurs escaping the island. So you have raptors, juvenile raptors, and compies. I don't know how to say their full name, but I'll put pictures here of raptors and compies that are sneaking onto the cargo ships, and they're making it to the mainland, and they're causing all kinds of havoc, like eating babies, and like it was horrifying stuff in these first couple chapters here. And I was really drawn in, really pulled in, really thought this was going to be a book that I loved. But that really sets the stakes up early for us in knowing what's going on here is having a wider impact than just this island. And for me, as someone who'd only ever seen the movies, this was really refreshing and really exciting. It got me pulled in immediately, and I was excited to see where the rest of the story went, because this idea that dinosaurs are escaping and no one knows about it, okay? All of these scientists are finding these bodies, they're hearing these stories, doctors are getting patients in with bite marks and all kinds of paralysis going on, and it's confusing as all heck, and no one knows that it's happening. The people who are running the island aren't aware that they're escaping, and the people on the mainland aren't aware that there's cloning dinosaurs happening on an island over there. That turns the scope of the movie into something much more broad and much more of a worldwide impact than just something happening on a small island. And for me personally, I like high stakes and I like broad scopes in my stories, so I prefer that when it comes to this book versus movie kind of conversation. The second thing is obviously character. Obviously, with a book, you're going to get more character development. This is written in third-person omniscient viewpoint, so we get to live in the heads of each of our characters, and we get to learn their story, how they came to be on the island, how they came to be working for John Hammond, and how they feel about what's going on in the island, how they feel about the animals, how they feel about the experience, and just how much knowledge they have about dinosaurs as stuff starts to go wrong. When it comes to why I preferred the movie better, it really boils down to suspense and pacing. Honestly, when I was reading this book and they're going through these scenes where they're being chased by dinosaurs or threatened by dinosaurs and you think they're going to get eaten, it was not really suspenseful. There were a couple of scenes that were done excellently. I would say the first scene with the Tyrannosaur where he steps over the fence and he attacks the cars. We've all seen the movie, right? It's 27 years old. And then the scene at the end where the kids are fighting against the raptors and they're trapped in the kitchen. Those two scenes were written really, really well, and I enjoyed reading them. But the rest of the scenes where they're interacting with dinosaurs and they're being attacked, or other members of the crew are being attacked, they weren't suspenseful. They kind of flew by or came in unexpectedly. Whereas if you've seen the movie, you know full well how intense and how suspenseful every minute of that is. And movies do have the benefit of scoring and visual imagery to kind of build up your suspense and heighten your fear that books do not have, but books have other ways of making you feel afraid. And the whole time I was watching the movie during this last reread, as a 24-year-old watching a 27-year-old movie, the graphics are terrible, the animatronics aren't great, you can tell it's fake, but I was still terrified for each and every character. Every time a character got into a life-threatening situation, I was scared for their life because I couldn't remember how it all ended up. But still, I was afraid, and the suspense was built well, and I was still on the edge of my seat for everything, versus in the book, there's only a couple of scenes that I was actually actively on the edge of my seat for. The second thing that I preferred the movie for was the pacing in general of the story. They cut out a lot from the book that really wasn't necessary, and really wasn't adding much to the storyline. When it comes to this sort of suspenseful, thriller, action-y story, you really don't need a lot of filler. You really just want to maintain this level of apprehension the whole time, and having in filler scenes or scenes that aren't as suspenseful and aren't really adding more to the story takes away from that pacing and that fright and that apprehension. So obviously, I felt like the movie did a better job of achieving that goal than the book did. In this conversation on pacing, one of the reasons I liked the movie better was because Jeff Goldblum's character, Ian Malcolm, in the movie is kind of a wisecracking smart guy. He gets taken out of action pretty early on, but most of his dialogue is in short, quick, pithy remarks that stick to the character of the book. He is the character from the book. But the Ian Malcolm in the book is prone to monologues. And I don't just mean monologues. I mean the monologues of all monologues in the worst timing possible. And it was so aggravating to me. One scene in particular, he's literally lying on a bed, dying because he got attacked, and staring up at this glass ceiling, and a raptor is coming into the room, and he's monologuing about science and scientists and how they don't earn their power, and so that makes them unable to understand the consequences of their power. And I'm like, dude, you're about to die. You might want to stop with the preaching. And that's really what I felt like his character was in the book, was a preacher designed to get across Michael Crichton's ideas and philosophies on science and advancement, and honestly, it was really annoying. The movie removed that aspect of his character, and not only did it help with the pacing, but he was still able to be the same Ian Malcolm, the same guy with the same views, just a lot less words and a lot better timing when it came to his monologues. Now, this is 100% just my view and just my preference. I personally feel like this type of story, this type of science fiction, thriller, action-based story does better in film, but I can't deny that the book was pretty good. I gave it 3 stars overall. I enjoyed my read of it. Did I prefer the movie? Yes, but does that make this a bad book? No. And I know for a fact that there are plenty of people out there that prefer the book over the movie. So if you've never read this and you're interested and you like Jurassic Park and you want more detail and you want more backstory and you want more science specifically, you should definitely pick this up. It was not a long read. It is about 400 pages and it's pretty fast-paced. Even though it's not as suspenseful as the movie, it is still a very fast-paced book. That's all I really have for you guys today on this book versus movie conversation. I feel like I got all my thoughts out pretty quickly. And there's not really much else to say. This isn't a super intellectual, make you think about life and death. I mean, it does make you think about life and death, but not in the same way as Annihilation did for me personally. So that's all I really got. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later. I have to talk about John Hammond's character because the way he is portrayed in the book I actually prefer over the movie, particularly because the movie turns him into a very genteel old grandpa who's just a little kooky and gets it wrong, but he really has his heart in the right place, versus the John Hammond in this book cares about nothing, and he's certifiably insane. Like, genuinely, when people are looking him in the face and saying, this is going to go wrong, you have dinosaurs eating people, we have to shut down, he refuses to accept it, and he goes to his grave. Spoilers, he goes to his grave believing that he can make this park work. The dinosaurs in this island, on this island that we're learning about, we're really learning about them. Dr. Grant, as the resident dinosaur expert, fossil guy, archaeologist, is he an archaeologist? Paleontologist. Paleontologist is the word. He doesn't know anything about dinosaurs. Okay, I'm not saying this properly, but what he knows about dinosaurs is very limited at this point. The book is set in the 80s. And so when he actually goes to the island and he's able to observe these dinosaurs living in sort of their natural habitat, he's actively learning about stuff, and he's actively being curious about the stuff that he's witnessing and trying to deduce and figure out what's going on. So he's actually contrasted with the rest of the people on the island, the technicians and the engineers and the gamekeepers. They don't really care about learning about the dinosaurs. They just have these attractions here that they're kind of caring for. Versus Dr. Grant actually specifically cares about the dinosaurs and wants to learn about them. And he does learn about them. We get to see him learning and see him theorizing about why they do things certain ways, how smart the raptors actually are, why they're leaving the mainland, and what purpose there is behind it. And I really did enjoy seeing that aspect of learning about dinosaurs from the book. We don't really get that as much in the movie. Dr. Grant just kind of knows everything already, and that helps him survive. Back to the regular video.